Hello, Tashidalai. Welcome to Dharma sharing. And today we are going to study more about the 6 paramitas, the trainings in the action bodhicitta. And obviously we have completed the first paramita, that is the dana paramita, or the generosity, perfections of generosity. And we are now discussing about the second paramita, that is known as Shila paramita, or the practice of moral ethic, the perfections of morality. So before we do so, we should generate loving kindness and compassion towards all sentient beings. We should always remember that our very aim is to benefit sentient beings, and in order to benefit sentient beings in more expanded level, we need to attain complete and perfect Buddhahood for ourselves, because otherwise we will not have wisdom to benefit others. Otherwise we will not have enough ability. So in order to benefit all sentient beings, we need to attain some kind of higher level, and the highest level of all is the attainment of complete and perfect Buddhahood. So therefore we should always remember this, and we should always refresh our bodhicitta every now and then. So before we begin, we should recite the refuge prayers followed by the generations of bodhicitta. Sangye jodan zoge jonam la jangjo bardo dane gyabson je dage jinso gebe sonam ge drola benje sangye drobarasho sangye jodan zoge jonam la jangjo bardo dane gyabson je dage jinso gebe sonam ge drola benje sangye drobarasho sangye jodan zoge jonam la jangjo bardo dane gyabson je dage jinso gebe sonam ge drola benje sangye drobarasho sangye jodan zoge jonam la jangjo bardo dane gyabson je dage jinso gebe sonam ge drola benje sangye drobarasho semje tamje dewa dan deve gyodan dembara gyoje Dunga dan dunga ge gyodan dawa gyoje dunga mebe dewa damba dan midawa gyoje ngire jada ngidan deve danyum jembo la nebara giroje semje damje dewa dan deve gyodan dembara gyoje dunga dan dunga ge gyodan dawa gyoje dunga mebe dewa damba midawa gyoje ngire jada ngidan deve danyum jembo la nebara giroje semje damje dewa dan deve gyodan dembara gyoje dunga dan dunga ge gyodan dawa gyoje dunga mebe dewa damba dan midawa gyoje ngire jada ngidan deve danyum jembo la nebara giroje balden zawe lama rimboje dage jewro beme densho la kadin jembe go ne jezonde Kuzon doge ngondo zado So the second paramita, the paramita that is known as Shila paramita, and we know there is a reason why it is called Shila paramita in Sanskrit, is it to give you some kind of break or coolness from the continuous experiencing of suffering in the samsara. Why we suffer in samsara is because we are creating the cause of suffering by ourselves, and that is why we are suffering. And now, because of being so fortunate that we are being able to born in this human realm and attain this the precious human body, and also are able to attend a spiritual master who can teach us, who can liberate, enlighten us with the teachings of the Buddha, that we can free ourselves from these sufferings. We don't need to suffer all the time. It's not compulsory that we need to suffer. We have choice. We have the choices to make, whether we want to suffer or whether we want to get rid from this suffering of samsara. And we can definitely do so, because Buddha said that this suffering has a cause, and once you eliminate or discard this as cause of suffering, then you are liberated naturally from the experience of suffering in samsara. So this is what we are trying to do. And this is why in order to eliminate the cause of suffering of samsara, those are known as negative afflictions and emotions, we are practicing the Dharma. We are following the instructions, we are listening to the Dharma, we are contemplating to its meanings, and we are implementing this very Dharma into our day-to-day life. So this is how we can eliminate ourselves from the engagement in the cause of suffering of samsara. So usually what we think is we think that we need to depend on someone else, in order to free ourselves from the suffering of samsara. We think there is someone external, protector that can protect us from falling down into the suffering of samsara. But in reality, in the fact of Buddha's teaching, there is none other than yourself that is so-called protector. You can only protect yourself, because you are the creator of your own karma. You create your own causes of the cause of suffering. So it is you that you can, eliminate this cause. So when you are able to eliminate these causes, or by starting by suppressing and minimizing and slowly, uprooting the causes of suffering of samsara, then you can liberate yourself naturally from the suffering of samsara. So it is you that who can help, yourself. That it is you that you can liberate yourself from the suffering of samsara. So therefore, we should not, think that there is someone else who is known as the creator, or someone who is creating all this suffering, and someone who has the power to, clear your sufferings, who can take away your cause of sufferings, who can take away your negative afflictions and emotions such as anger, jealousy, attachment, and so forth. There's none. No one can ever take away your negative afflictions and emotions. It is only you that you can minimize and uproot all these negative afflictions and emotions. Yes, there are, spiritual masters. There are these three jewels, but they are not someone who can take away your sin or suffering or your negative afflictions and emotions, because Buddha himself said in his teaching that he can only show you the path, he can only support you, he can only teach you, he can only enlighten you, from the ignorance just by teaching the Dharma. So it falls on you, it is up to you whether you really want to follow this Dharma or not. If you follow this Dharma with 100% diligence, definitely you'll be able to liberate yourself from the suffering of samsara. Also, you can show the path to others as well. But if you do not follow the path, if you do not put effort in the practice of the Dharma, if you do not put effort to eliminate the cause of suffering of samsara, if you continue, engage in non-virtuous act like killing, stealing, telling lie, having ill-will thoughts, developing aversions, attachments, and so forth, then you'll never be able to, free yourself from the suffering of samsara. No matter even you are with Buddha himself, if you keep continuing in the implementations of non-virtuous acts through your body, speech, and mind, even Buddha can't do anything to you. That's what Buddha himself said. So we should always remember that. We should always be practical in Buddhist practice. It is you who can help you. It is you who can, help you to attain complete and perfect Buddhahood. That is why this second paramita is very, very important. In the second paramita, it talks about refraining yourself, abstraining or restraining yourself from the engagement of non-virtuous act. Your bodily actions of non-virtuous act, your speech, non-virtuous speech, your non-virtuous thinking, or kind of ill-will thoughts or harming others. This kind of thing, we should, decrease them, suppress them, decrease them, and slowly uproot them. So we should be completely free from these negative afflictions and emotions. Otherwise, we'll continue to experience the suffering of samsara. So because of that reason, as GAMPOPA mentioned here, we should try to implement moral ethics. We should sustain moral ethics trainings. We should implement all these beautiful instructions of how we can restrain our body, speech and mind from harming others, so that we can protect ourselves from falling down and experiencing of the three lower realms. So therefore it makes more sense than that way. So in the practice of the Dharma, as it says that moral ethic should be the ground for all. If you apply moral ethic, if you keep your good conduct of body, speech and mind, if you free yourself from engagement of the non-virtuous act of body, speech and mind, and if you encourage yourself, go further to accumulating of good conduct, creating positive energy through your body, speech and mind, and sharing these positive energies for yourself and the people around you. That is how you can protect yourself. That is how you can reach near to liberation from the suffering of samsara. So it says that first we need to have moral ethic. We just can't call ourselves the practitioners of Buddha Dharma just by having faith and devotion to Buddha Dharma and Sangha, just by paying homage and offering incense, flowers and light. That's not enough. That's just a kind of aspirational aspect of Buddha's practicing the Dharma. What we really need to do is we really need to engage in the implementations of developing ourselves, maturing our mind towards the virtues, and trying to abandoning the non-virtuous act. If you're able to do this, then you can call yourself practitioners of the Buddha Dharma. So in order to do so, as we know that there are 7 different types, 7 different individuals who apply this, who keep these moral ethics, both monastics and lay Sangha members. Buddha is a very skillful and he has lots of compassion, so he has made this available for all of us. You can be householder, practitioner of the Buddha Dharma, as well as you can live the samsaric activities and become monks and nuns and go into monastery and live a simple life and practice the Dharma. So there are different possibilities. So the 7 different types of individual who gives the moral ethic that we studied. So you can be either of this Upasaka or Upasika by giving different types of precepts. You can become monks and nuns and give different precepts. Commit yourself not to involve in non-virtuous act and to uphold the good conduct as much as possible. So this is how you can protect yourself. That is why the moral ethic is kind of foundation for the practice of the Dharma. So within the base of moral ethic, having the base of moral ethic, then you can contemplate or concentrate or meditate. Then with good or strong driven meditation, then you will be able to give rise to insight. So moral ethic, concentration, wisdom, these 3 are the most important level or aspect of practicing the Dharma. So the second paramita, the morality or the moral ethics, there are 3 different types, as GAMPOPA present here under the topic of the classification. There are 3 different types of moral ethics. First one is restraining yourself from the harmful act, that is to control your body and speech and mind. Then what we have is next is engaging yourself into the maturation, how to mature your mind, how to develop positive qualities, that is known as the moral ethic of accumulating virtues. So that's also we have studied. And third one is the morality or moral ethic of benefiting others. Obviously, since this is the practice of Mahayana vehicle, we should never forsake sentient beings. So each and every practice of ours in the Mahayana vehicle should always consider for the benefit of other sentient beings. So therefore, the third type of moral ethic is benefiting sentient beings. So now we are here to try to understand more about how to benefit sentient beings. This moral ethic or the Shila Paramita is kind of making yourself engage in positive creations of positiveness, engage yourself in the decreasing or eliminating the non-virtuous act or negative energies, and at the same time benefiting sentient beings every now and then, whenever possible, however possible. So the third type of the moral ethic is the benefiting sentient beings. So we have also understood the different characteristics of these three different types of moral ethics. And to understand more about the benefiting sentient beings, we have these 11 different topics that we talk about, how we can benefit sentient beings, where we need to be careful, and how we can, protect sentient beings, how we can mature sentient beings, how we can benefit sentient beings, different types of, different means, different ways how we can really benefit sentient beings. Sometimes where we need to be careful, where we need to, be more concerned, and so forth. And to continue with that, furthermore, in order to create confidence and faith in others and to prevent oneself from backsliding, you should avoid impure actions of the three doors, that is the impure actions of body, speech and mind, and to sustain the three purities. So we try to understand what are the three impurities of three doors and what are the purities of three doors. So we should engage and encourage ourselves to practice the three purities of three doors, that is the purity of body, speech and mind. And we should discourage ourselves, or we should not involve in the impurity of three doors, the act of impures from the three doors. The first one, impure actions of the body. So what kind of actions you can implement, the pure actions of the body. So avoid untamed actions such as unnecessarily running, jumping and so forth. You should maintain pure actions smoothly and gently with a smiling face. So even in you should how can you be careful with your body act is also just a simple act like jumping and shouting, running away and yelling, all this kind of thing, which are not so bad. But then in order to maintain your peaceful state of mind, to maintain your pure conduct, you are advised to walk slowly, walk mindfully. That is why we have this walking meditations of mindfulness, eating meditations of mindfulness. So all these things is very necessary. It will support your meditation. Obviously jumping and yelling and shouting and making jokes, these are not considered as the bad thing. But then what happens is, if you become more familiar with this kind of act, then slowly your action or body will also become a little bit of coarse and rough, so to speak. So therefore, when we are in the monastery, or when we are in the meditation sessions or in the retreat, we are always, encouraged to sit still, breathe normally, and remain silent, practicing silence. For some people, practicing silence is very, very difficult job to do because their habit of always yelling, shouting, and making lots of noise and so forth. So, but anyway, these are also encouraged for someone to practice the Dharma, especially that someone wants to meditate. These are good support if you really implement the bodily actions of being gentle, humble, walk slowly, and with a beautiful smile that you can gift, that you can give someone as a gift of the day. So these are encouraged here. engaging in the conduct of Bodhisattva Chara Avatar, what Shantideva said in that, he said, now, well, there is freedom to act, because you are free, you are being born as the human realm, in the human realm as a human being, and have these wonderful qualities of precious human body. So when you have this freedom, what you need to do is, I should always present a smiling face to the others, and cease to frown and look angry. I should be a friend and counsel of the world. So this is what Shantideva said. When you have time now, when you are, still alive, at least, even if you can't do anything much for others, at least you should use your, remember those 5 ratna, 5 jewels that you have in your body, within yourself. You should, give this to others. Give a very compassionate smile to others. Just don't remain always, angry face, doubtful, worried. This is not a kind of healthy thing to do. So at least, if you can't do much, but just don't hesitate giving a pure smile, a compassionate smile to others. That will, plant seed for others. That will bring some kind of, coolness, some kind of happiness, give some kind of happiness to other beings. So that is what he encouraged us to do here. And when beholding others, what we need to do is, when beholding someone with my eyes, the first one is a smiling face, regard to do with your face, and the second one is to do with your eyes. When beholding someone with my eyes, thinking, I shall fully awaken through depending upon these beings, I should look at him or her with an open heart and love. So when you look at people, you think that because of them I can practice generosity, because of them I can practice patience, because of them I can restrain my body, speech and mind from harming them. Just their being there, it's already a great contribution towards your practice of the Dharma, isn't this? It is. Because of having sentient beings in this world, because of having enemies in this world, we can practice our patience. Because of having poor and needy people, we can practice generosity. So therefore, their being there is already a great contribution towards your path to liberation. Obviously, otherwise you can't practice this generosity and patience and so forth. And this is how you think. And when you by thinking that, in keeping this in your mind, then you look at sentient beings, with compassionate eyes. You feel grateful for them. You feel so grateful for them because of their being there with you or in front of you. You can practice 6 paramitas. And when sitting, the next is how you should sit. So these are all the different instructions from Shantideva in his book of the Conduct of Bodhisattvas. I should not sit with my leg outstretched, nor rub my hands together. So when you are with people, when you visit people, or when you are listening, teaching the Dharma, or when you are in the temple, or always you should pay respect to others. And there are many different ways how you can pay respect to others according to different tradition and different cultures, obviously. So in this tradition, especially with relate to Indian tradition here, if you sit with outstretching your legs, that is considered as impure action or not a good conduct. So you should act according to different culture. It may not be a bad culture, a bad conduct to some culture, but it is a bad culture to Indian and Buddhist culture, I think. So therefore, we always advise they always encourage us to sit still, cross-legged, without outstretching your legs and rubbing your hands or holding your hands together and all. So we should always remain, in a balanced way here. This is also one of the practice of the Dharma. It will support your kind of peaceful mind, meditation, and also it will help you to give respect to others, because by knowing that they are kind to you, they are you should have the rejoicement in them by being there for you to practice your 6 paramitas. So therefore, in order to appreciate their contributions, we should also pay respect to them, and according to different cultures. That's something that you should remember. Then when eating, so next is the contact of eating. When eating, I should not fill my mouth. So some people, when they eat with lots of food in their mouth, and which are impolite, not polite thing to do. So therefore, you also should be mindful while you are eating, and not making noise. Here again says, eat nicely or with a mouth wide open. These things should be also, eliminate this kind of action as well. So Shantideva teaches us how to, look at the people, how to, eat, how to sit. And when moving, I should desist from inconsiderately and noisily moving around chairs and so forth, as well as from violently opening doors. I should always delight the humanity. So again, when you move, when you go around, what you need to do is you need to remain calm and not make so loud noises, or not close the door with a big sound, or violently closing or opening the doors. And you should always remain in calm, in gentle act. Your bodily actions, your bodily action should always be gentle, and your bodily action should always delight other sentient beings. So these are some of the instructions of bodily action, pure body actions of the body, pure actions of the body. Then the one more. When sleeping, how should one sleep? He says here, just as the Buddha lay down to pass away, so should I lie in the desired direction. So even the way how we can sleep, you can take the Buddha as example. When Buddha went into parinirvana, the posture that he was lying, we should also follow the same postures when you are sleeping. So these are different types of instructions with regard to the bodily actions of pure. The next is impure actions of speech. So avoid idle talk and harsh words. So these are the two most important: harsh words, or idle talk. Harsh word will insult or hurt other people, and idle talk will be the cause of quarrel. And again, it also can be the wasting of your precious time. It will delay your practice in the Dharma. It will delay your accumulations of merit. It will obstruct your daily schedule, timetable, and so forth. So therefore, these are also something that we should be thinking of. Avoid idle talk and harsh words. The faults of idle talk are mentioned in the Cloud of Noble Jewels Sutra. So the childish one declines from the precious Dharma. His mind becomes arrogant and harsh. He grows far from calm abiding and spatial insight. These are the faults of idle talk. So if you engage in idle talk or gossip, if you talk about someone else, what they are doing, where someone's going to, all this meaningless talk what some people's what someone's wearing, you know, what brand of bag someone's carrying, all these different things, you know, that we usually talk and waste our time, you know, and usually, you know, it will bring lots of negativeness. Usually we complain about others, obviously, and that is not a healthy thing to do. You know, we should always appreciate and proclaim others' good qualities rather than bad ones. And whenever we see something good for others, as a bodhisattva way of life, you know, instruction is to rejoice them instead of being jealous to them. So therefore, idle talk will also take your time, you know, waste your time, as well as it will also create negative thoughts into your mind, and by complaining others and talking about all the unnecessary things that is involved. He never has a devotions for the teachers and always enjoys false and mellifluous speech. He remains without essence, and his discernment deteriorates. And these are the faults of idle talk. So if you engage in idle talk, these are the disadvantages of, you know, having idle talk and spending your time, you know, wasting your time with the different types of meaningless talk with people, especially the complaining of others. According to the Moon Lamp Sutra, the faults of harsh words are, so the first one was the idle talk, and the second disadvantage or the shortcoming is of the harsh words are, the faults of harsh words are, whatever one sees to be others' mistakes, do not declare it as a mistake. You will receive the results of whatever actions you take. So, with regard to harsh words, you know, we always blame others. We always, you know, kind of talk about others' mistakes, and yet we never look our own mistakes. You know, there's a saying that we can see a small mistake of others, but we cannot see a big mistake of ourselves. The example is, we can see lice in someone's head, but we can't see a big ox or yak that is on our head. So that means that we see people's smallest, slightest mistakes, but we never consider our mistake, even though it is huge, like Mount Meru, so to speak. So this is, you know, something that we should remember, that we always, you know, complain of others, but we always forget that we also have mistakes. We also have made lots of mistakes. So instead of, you know, talking about others' mistakes, why don't we talk about our own mistakes? That then we can, you know, develop. Then we can, you know, mature our mind. Then we can purify our mistakes. Whenever you see mistake of others, how about when you see someone talking roughly and you don't feel uncomfortable with that way of speech, then why don't we look at ourselves? Oh, I also should not use this kind of words. You know, when I talk harshly, you know, when I hear someone's talking harshly of others, you don't feel comfortable. So likewise, you take that as an example, and you know, consider yourself. Oh, I should not do something like this. You know, you take this as an example to correct yourself. That's better than, you know, talking and proclaiming mistake of others. So whenever you see shortcomings or mistakes of others or fault of others, whether it is to do with their bodily action or speech or mental, you know, thoughts, instead of blaming them, we should take this as an example, and we should also, you know, try to correct ourselves. Oh, this is not, you know, comfortable. This is not favorable. This is not pleasurable things to hear when someone is talking harshly. Then you take this as an example, and you say, you remember that, you make yourself a commitment that, oh, I will not talk such harsh words that he or she does. because this is not pleasant at all. So you experience this, you experience this uncomfortableness, unpleasurableness. Then you correct yourself of not, acting in the same way. So this is how you can take the advantages of seeing the other's fault. So you can take this as a lesson, a training for yourself. The instructions on the non-productions of all phenomena sutra says, one who talks about the downfall of the bodhisattva will be far from reaching enlightenment. By talking about another's mistake through jealousy, one will be far from enlightenment and so forth. So there's no any kind of helpful if you talk about others' mistakes. It is just a kind of having another cause for another suffering, another quarrel, another dispute. But in special cases, if you really want to benefit others, if you really want to correct someone's mistakes, then that's a different thing. That will be through your kind and compassion, as that was mentioned earlier in the second type of moral ethics of accumulating virtues. So that's advisable. If you really have a concern for others, if you really see someone's doing mistakes and if that is not good, of course, and if you want to really help them out of compassion, then you should approach with very skillful means. If you just point out his mistakes, even it is out of compassion, that is not so helpful. So you should apply the skillful means as well, how you can really talk about their mistakes. When someone's yelling or doing something wrong, at that very moment, if you try to tell him or her, that I don't think that will be proper timing. So you can maybe find a proper timing, better timing, where you can sit together, have a cup of coffee, and then you discuss about different things and slowly discussing about our conduct. And you can really point out of compassion, and then you can help them to correct their mistakes. So that will be other cases. Otherwise, with kind of hatred and anger and pointing out someone's mistakes will not help you anyway. It will be another accumulations of non-virtuous act. So therefore, one should avoid idle talk and harsh words. The way to use pure speech in engaging in the conduct of a bodhisattva, it is said that when talking, I should speak from my heart and on what is relevant. When you talk, you should talk, according to the situation, in a proper manner, with pure heart. Making the meaning clear and speech pleasing. So whenever you are talking to others, make the subject very simple, understandable, easy to understand. Make it easier for others to understand you with clear and manner of pleasing them, using a very simple, respected and kind words. I should not speak out of desire or hatred, but in gentle tones and moderation. So these are the instructions from the Bodhisattva's conduct, how we can use our speech in a pure way. Then the next one is impure actions of the mind. Avoid craving gain and honor and attachment to sleep, sloth and so forth. So we should avoid craving gain, positions, because what we are doing here is practicing 6 paramitas. So when we practice 6 paramita, what is the purpose of practicing 6 paramita? It is to benefit sentient beings. So when benefiting sentient beings, if you have this thought that is of grasping name, fame, grasping or looking for some result, then that is not Bodhisattva way of practice. So therefore we need to act, that is 100% benefiting others, without any considerations of your own benefits, without any expectations or preconditions. You should be pure. Your act, your mental thinking, it should be always pure, because you are practicing to benefit sentient beings. So therefore, it says, avoid craving, gain, and honor, and attachment to sleep and sloth, and also not being lazy. Having faith in devotion, practicing all these 6 different types of trainings with joyful in your heart. Then it will go smoothly and it will have result. The fault of craving gain and honor are mentioned in the sutra requested with the extreme sincerity. So what are the downfalls of craving gain and honor? So these are mentioned in this sutra. Maitreya, bodhisattvas should investigate and understand that attachment to gain and honor will produce desire. Obviously, if you are craving for gain, name and fame, obviously it will produce desire, and desire is one of the poison, isn't it? It is defilement. It will block your attainment of Buddhahood. So therefore, this is something we need to avoid. This is not helpful. This is obstacles for us. So we should be free ourselves from the attachment. And craving gain and honor is the cause for giving rise to attachment. So we don't want this. We have enough this. We have enough of this from the beginningless of time. That is why we are suffering, in this samsara. And now we are thinking of freeing ourselves from this suffering of samsara. And again, your wish is to free yourself from the suffering of samsara. Then again, you're implementing the cause of that suffering. Then that doesn't make any sense, isn't it? It's a contradictory. What you think and what you do are totally different. Then you will reach nowhere. Your wish was to reach direction A, but your implementation is directing towards destination B, so which doesn't match. So therefore, we should avoid craving of gain, name and honor and so forth while we practice 6 paramitas. Next, one should understand that gain and honor will produce hatred. Obviously, it creates desire, obviously. Then if someone's obstructs, if someone disrupts from your attainment of your gain and honor, then you get angry towards that sentient beings. You say, oh, why you're stopping me? Then this is another way of producing anger, and that is not healthy at all. That is developing hatred, and hatred is also one of the poison. That's the defilement. We should be free from hatred in order to attain enlightenment. And again, same thing. If you grasp at honor, name and fame, then it will produce hatred. It will produce hatred. How? Because if someone comes to block your aiming of name and fame, obviously you get hatred, you get aversion, you get angry towards those individuals. Then you create another karma there. You just don't remain there. You act according to hatred, and you fight with them, or you may involve in non-virtuous act, stealing, fighting, even killing them, taking their lives and so forth. So all these different kinds of risks are involved there. One should also understand that gain and honor will produce ignorance. Obviously, not knowing that grasping is the is the obstacles to the path of liberation. That's ignorant. Grasping will develop attachment and hatred, and these are also ignorant. Not knowing the true nature, the impermanence nature and the uncertainty nature or emptiness nature of that gain, honor, respect, possessions. These are temporarily. They do not last forever. They do not have their own existent nature. They are the suffering of change. So when you do not know this, obviously you pay lots of attention, you pay lots of value to this name and fame and honor, and that's ignorant itself. So this is how it produces ignorance, which is another obscurations in your path to liberation. One should understand that gain and honor will produce deceit. Obviously, slowly, when you desire to gain and fame, when you attach to that positions, then in order to have more, you will deceive other people. You will fool other people in order to gain more respect, gain more wealth, gain more possessions. So this is how it produces deceit, which is not good at all. You should be humble, true and pure-hearted practitioners. But if you are involved in this grasping of name and honor and fame, then you'll be more attached to this, and this is how you want to have more and more. There's never satisfaction in the worldly possessions. So if you have one, you need to have two. If you have two, you need to have three. So that's we can, in our own life, we can experience this. When you do not have anything, you want to have something, and when you have that thing, you want to have another thing. So there's no satisfaction at all. It is same with your nowadays the most famous tool that we use is mobile phones. So each time we are craving for another mobile phone, another level of mobile phone, another brand, another outcome, new looks. So this actually is like drinking a salty water to satisfy your thirst, which will never happen. So this is not good at all. So that's why we should be avoiding this craving of name and honor. I should understand that all the Buddhas disapprove of gain and honor. Yes, Buddha talks about the impermanent nature of phenomena. Buddha talks about the suffering nature of phenomena. Buddha always discourage us of giving value and attention towards these sensual objects, temporarily these appearances of color, shape, sound, smell, taste and texture. So instead Buddha encouraged us to look internally, the value of loving kindness, compassion, forgiveness. Those are more important than that of the external phenomena. So that's why it says that understand that all the Buddhas disapprove of gain and honor, and especially in the mind vehicle, particularly mind vehicle, you should always think of others, not for grasping of gain and honor for yourself, but thinking of others, without any kind of self-centered attitude, thinking that what you are for others, you are dedicated for the well-being of others, you are dedicated to the service of others. Therefore, you have nothing to grasp it, you have nothing to attach to, because you have dedicated your life for the service of others. That is what bodhisattva is, isn't it? So, if you're bodhisattva or acting bodhisattva, training in bodhisattva's way of life, and again you are holding up something for yourself, that's contradictory. Buddha and bodhisattva will not approve that. You say you want to benefit all sentient beings, but then you are becoming arrogance, stinginess, holding yourself, ego-clinging. Then that's not the proper way of benefiting sentient beings. So therefore, all the Buddhas will disapprove gain and honor. I should understand that the gain and honor will destroy the root of virtues. Obviously, slowly you become more attached, to worldly activities, worldly things, worldly possessions. You become more, develop more hatred when someone disturbs you. When you become more jealous when someone has better than you. You become more arrogant when someone has less than you. You think you are the most powerful people on the earth. So if you have all, since this is the attachment or craving for name and honor, this will all bring you these all the negative afflictions and emotions. it will develop desire, hatred, ignorance, isn't it? Deceiving others, forsaking sentient beings. Then obviously this will destroy your root of virtue. Then there's no root or virtue left within you. What you have is all these poisons then. Hatred, jealousy, anger, attachment, and ignorance. So obviously it will destroy your root of virtues. And I should understand that gain and honor are like a deceitful hard lot, and so forth. Okay, so these are some instructions on how you really need to thinking of renouncing craving of honor and name, or in other words, how you can renounce yourself from ego-clinging. Even if you gain wealth by grasping name, fame, and honor, you will not be satisfied. Obviously, this worldly phenomena, the more you get, the more you need, again and again. So you'll not be satisfied. So how can you be satisfied? You can be satisfied within. If you grasp at others, craving for others, external phenomena, then there's no satisfaction. Each time is new. That is why that is why those manufacturers, those companies, having a very good business, because they know that your craving has no limit. So therefore, every year they make new things, and they know that they will have a good market. They know that people are, craving. People are looking externally. People are looking their happiness externally. So each time they have new product, people will, desperate to buy those things in order to make them happy. And then later on they will know that's not enough happiness there. So next year again they will buy another to make them happy. And these companies are very, clever. They know this. They have more wisdom than us. So they produce again and again, and we keep buying again and again, and we end up having pile of things, unnecessary things in our storeroom, so to speak, isn't this? So therefore, it says, even if you have wealth, it will not be said. It will not set. You will not be satisfied. That's very true. Therefore, we need to find satisfactions within. If you, driving, if you keep going, keep looking for your happiness elsewhere, external, then you'll never reach. Then you'll never be satisfied. But if you know the value within, if you can transform your mind, if you change the way how you look to the things, then satisfactions can be found. That is why those practitioners, those saints, those yogis, they are very satisfied with their life. They always have a smile in their face. They are satisfied with simple things. They live in simplicity, simple clothes, simple food, yet they sleep very soundly, and they always have a pleasant smile on their face. And whenever people visit them, they always have a compassionate eyes, compassionate gesture, always wanting to listen suffering of others, always showing them the path, the right path, that how they can free themselves from the suffering of samsara. These are the real meaning of our life, finding the internal inner peace, being closer to our Buddha nature. Okay. So a meeting of father and the son sutra says, for example, you will not be satisfied by drinking water that you dream about. So it's like drinking water that in the dream water, drinking the dream water. Likewise, all the objects of sensual desire will not give you satisfactions even if you enjoy them. Okay. One thing is that since these sensual objects themselves are impermanent, so they cannot satisfy you forever. That's one thing, one very kind of direct wisdom of that. They are temporarily, they change. You know, if you think some individual, human, who is so near to you, to whom you loved so much, that also is unreliable. That particular being is also have the nature of change, nature of impermanence. That too will fade, will get old, will sick, will die one day. So you cannot, there's no guarantee of your satisfactions from there too. Either it's object or human being and situation, surroundings, or so and so on and so forth. These are all, you know, in nature of impermanence, nature of change. So there's no guarantee. Since they do not last forever, since they do not have their own natural existence, since they are not permanent, so you cannot expect satisfactions from them. That's one thing. That is why we are changing things again and again, isn't it? Yes. So therefore, we need to understand this. With that understanding, you should reduce attachment and be content. So this is very important knowledge. The fault of attachment to sleep. So being lazy and fault to attachment to sleep is mentioned here. Attachment to sleep and sloth will cause one's intelligence to decline. It will also cause the discriminating mind to decrease. It will always cause one to be far from primordial wisdom. So when you're lazy, when you're attached to sleep, you are not clear, you don't have clear mind, you don't have clear intelligence, therefore you will be far from attainment of discriminating knowledge, and obviously your intelligence will decline. So these are some of the faults of attachment to sleep. So we should wake up early, you know, be fresh, do your things, either is worldly activity or dharmic activity. You should have, you know, schedule in your life. You should discipline your life. This, the main important message of moral ethic is to discipline yourself and the restraining from harming others. If your life has no schedule, no routine, no timetable, then it is, you know, very boring. It is tiring, boring, and slowly it is lacking of intelligence, and you know, you keep gaining weight by eating, sleeping, and so on. Not so unhealthy thing to do, which will cause more suffering, more sickness, and obviously because of that you'll suffer by that sickness. And one who is attached to the sleep and sloth becomes lethargic, lazy, and without discernment. He can be overcome by the obstacles of non-human beings, and when in the forest he can be harmed, and so forth. So these are mentioned from the sutras. Therefore, this should be avoided. The impure body, speech, and mind actions should be avoided. In pure actions of mind, one maintains competence and so forth, as explained in the chapter 12. So these are the different characteristics and different way how we should be implementing pure act of body, speech, and mind, and how we should be avoiding impurities of body, speech, and mind. Then the next topic is to increase, how one can increase our moral ethic. So these are presented in a very similar manner that of the first paramita, how we can increase the first paramita. The method is the same. So I will read from the first paramita. Okay, how we can increase? We can increase these three different types of moral ethics, even it is very small. You know, we can increase them. And how we can increase them? We can increase them through three different means. The first one is, like Bodhisattva Basket mentions, Shariputra, a wise Bodhisattva can increase even a small moral ethic. You know, he or she can increase it through the power of the power of primordial wisdom. So that is to say, you know, being free from three spheres. Remember, we have this attachment of I as a doer and act itself, and then the recipient. We have these three kind of fixations. we have this kind of fixations in I, fixations in the receiver, and fixations of the act. This is known as the kind of what you call not having the wisdoms of knowing that these three spheres are emptiness nature. So in order to increase our act of morality, even if it is very small, we should think that I, as a practitioner of moral ethic, doesn't really exist as I appear. I am the nature of impermanence, nature of emptiness, especially the nature of emptiness. Then the act itself, like not lying, and then to whom you are not lying, the object. So you should be free from these spheres of fixation. And then it is known as having the knowledge of primordial wisdom. And this is how you can eliminate yourself from the existence of samsara. So this, if you are able to do this, then your small act of moral ethic will be huge, will be enormous, uncountable. Likewise, the second way is you can expand it through the power of discriminating wisdom. How is that? That is the any kind of practice of moral ethic. At first, if first you do it with the intentions of practicing this moral ethics in order to establish all sentient beings in the state of enlightenment, obviously aspiration bodhicitta is involved. In other words, when you are practicing moral ethic, even it is just a small moral ethic of not lying, consider yourself, remember that you are doing this for the benefit of other beings. Aspirations bodhicitta should be involved. And in the middle, without having any kind of attachment towards that act. Sometimes, even though you are practicing moral ethic, you have some kind of prideness, I'm keeping my vows, I'm better than them, others, I'm keeping all the 5 precepts, I'm keeping 253 precepts. So you're thinking yourself as a superior than others. That kind of attachment is also blocking your attainment of enlightenment. So you should be free from that too. And at the end, you should be free from expectations of any result. Even though the good result will come automatically, but you should not have any kind of expectation. You should practice this moral ethic, even if it is just a small, like not telling lie. You should practice this, that you can benefit others. By speaking truth, you can benefit so many beings, rather than disputing them. So this is how you can expand your moral ethics. And finally, third is through dedication. So when you practice moral ethic, even if it's very small, of not telling lie, after that, you rejoice it and you dedicate for the well-being of others. So when you dedicate this, remember, a drop of water pouring into ocean will remain till ocean lasts. So these are the means how we can increase our moral ethics. Likewise, the next presentation is perfection. How we can perfect our moral ethics. Same manner, just like explained in the first paramita. So if one practices moral ethics with emptiness and the essence of compassion, then all the merit will be purified. So when you can make your moral ethic a perfected moral ethic through two means, with understanding of the nature of emptiness and having compassion towards all sentient beings. So if you have these two qualities, if you have these two wings, then you can fly to enlightenment. Compassion and wisdom. Wisdom is knowing the true nature of phenomena, that is knowing the emptiness nature, and having compassion towards those who do not know, who do not realize this reality of emptiness. So this is how you can fly to the final destination. So this is how you can perfect your moral ethic. Okay, and the results. So results, I'll just read them out. The results of by practicing second paramita, one should understand that the results of moral ethic in the ultimate and conventional state, to relative level and ultimate level. In the ultimate states, one achieves unsurpassable enlightenment. One will attain Buddhahood. The Bodhisattva Bhumi says, by fully perfecting the paramita of Bodhisattva's moral ethics, one will achieve unsurpassable, perfect, complete enlightenment. That's the ultimate level. In the ultimate level, obviously, you will attain Buddhahood. And in the relative level, in the conventional state, even if one does not so desire, one will achieve the perfect happiness in samsara, even though if you have no expectations, but by practicing moral ethics, you will experience different types of enjoyments and happiness in the samsara as well, even though they are not permanent happiness, but you will experience temporary happiness. Bodhisattva Bhaskar says, Shariputra, there is no perfect, glorious enjoyment of the gods and the human realms that a bodhisattva with a pure moral ethics will not enjoy. So he will enjoy every kind of temporary happiness by practicing moral ethics. A bodhisattva will continue following the path by not being overpowered by the joy and happiness of samsara. Yet, while enjoying the happiness of samsara, he or she will not be overpowered by this samsaric happiness. He or she still understands that this experience of happiness, temporary happiness, is also the nature of change, suffering of change, and the nature of non-existence or emptiness. So therefore, he or she is not, will not give rise to attachment or not be arrogance, will not have any kind of pride whatsoever. So this is the knowledge of the result of this. The Narayana requested sutra says, a bodhisattva who possesses such a moral ethic will not fall from the universal monarchy because he has introspections and desires of enlightenment. He will not be declined from Indra states because he has a great introspections and desire to achieve enlightenment. So even though he or she, in the temporary level, in the conditioned level, bodhisattva will enjoy, these worldly samsaric positions, but then he or she will not stop there because he or she is very clear that this is not their final destination. Even though it is very pleasant, enjoyment of God and human realm, even it is very pleasant, they know that this is nature of change, and they are very clear with their destination. They really want to go further to attain complete and perfect Buddhahood. A bodhisattva who possesses this kind of moral ethic will be praised and honored by humans and non-human beings. The same sutra says, the God will always prostrate to the bodhisattva who abides in the collections of moral ethic, and he or she will always be praised by all the nagas. He will always be praised by the yakshas. The Gandharvas will always make offerings. He will always be sought after by brahmanas, kings, merchants, and householders. The Buddha always think about him, and he is always esteemed by the whole world, including gods and so forth. So these are beneficial effects of practicing moral ethics. How wonderful is it? This is the 13th chapter dealing with the perfections of moral ethics from the Jewel Ornament of Liberation, the wish-fulfilling gem of noble teachings. So this concludes the second paramita, that is known as the Shila Paramita, or the perfections of moral ethics. So we'll skip here for today, and we'll continue to next paramita in the next session. Thank you for listening, and we should dedicate the good merits for the well-being of others. So nam de tamche sikba nye thomne nge be danam pamche ne ke ga na che balav do bai sibe so le do wa